You know what time it is. I see you all in chat. The hype is real. Welcome to the third and final episode of Stay Alive, the show that is here because of Stay Alive, which I know it breaks our heart we don't get our Stay Alive fix until perhaps sometime in the future. This is me throwing that out there live, hoping, just dreaming. You know, we got to dream big. But for you who might just be coming in for the first time, Stay Alive was the show here on the Free Forge that was 8:30, 7:30 Central. But don't worry, don't cry, because coming up on Friday, we have new things on the Free Forge, namely Honor Roll. I know some cast members and perhaps a wild and crazy DM might be out in chat right now, just represented. It's going to be Friday, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, because I am the Eastern time. I know everything is in Central over there. But Stay Alive, if you don't know, thank you for putting all these commands out there. Wonderful mods. Stay Alive has been an experience, and we are saying goodbye to some of the most amazing, incredibly dynamic characters and cast members. And today we get a chance to talk to them and pick their brains and ask them a bunch of questions that y'all have come up with. So let us, without further ado, say hello to these beautiful friends. We have Tony Ballard-Smoot, Chris Gideon, Joshua Simons, Mindy Hopkins, and Deej Storer. Welcome in, friends.
Yo.
Oh, hi.
It's all the peoples. I was gonna try to point, but I got lost.
We're lost. I was listening back to, like, the only way I can emotionally deal with the past season has been to speed it up on YouTube. I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, all of these emotional things sound a lot more funny when you're like cry. Then you cry for like 2 seconds instead of what we had to do last episode.
Can we do that live?
You gotta lessen the impact. Yeah.
Can we do that live? That would make my life easier.
I mean, I could try.
Well, welcome in, y'all. I know it's been a roller coaster. We have lots of questions loaded up and some fun. Well, okay, we say fun. The royal we say fun, but in fact, it'll be fun for someone who doesn't like to cry on a Wednesday night. I know I've been doing it for the past however many weeks.
I like to cry every night, so
that's why we have the ice cream, we have the things. You know, This question's not in there, but because we haven't been able to ask Chris being the one we haven't had at the table yet, how do you recover from these episodes? How do you first off, how do you prepare? And then how do you recover from these episodes? Because you in particular get in it. You know, we get to see all the range happen in your face. So tell us a little bit about that to put you directly in the seat.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I definitely prepare thoroughly every week because I am a professional. So there's never, ever been a single session that I've been unprepared for ever. Afterward, I mean, there is no recovery. You know what I mean? I consume souls as my day job. So, you know, I just log off and make sure that Mindy is intact.
Teamwork.
She does usually check in.
You good? It's a quick, you good? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, really? Are you good?
You got your ice cream? Okay, bye. Yeah. And that's what friends are for. Lovely. Well, thank you. I had to ask because I personally think that's I don't know. I am always, like I've said, every episode in awe at what y'all do and what you invest in each of these things. So that being said, y'all get to take a seat because Deej, I'm gonna target you real quick because we've had our characters being played. But you as the virus, as it says on the screen, not only are you the virus, but you're also like a ridiculous amount of operatives. So what, from Strix out there, what is the inspiration for playing these operatives? Because they be out there in chat.
Sure. I think the foundation for what I try to do with the operatives is capture a little bit of the person that we know. To become an operative, for those of you not aware, it basically involves the incorporation of connectivity through this ARG element that we had going through the FreeForge community Discord, and puzzle solving, and kind of dedicating yourself to navigating through that process. So it's a lot of times going to be limited to those who are kind of going out of their way to invest in the space, and trying to make sure that they are plugged into the content itself. And one of the aspects that I want to try and capture there is rewarding a lot of that engagement and investment. So I tend to model them around what the NPC needs of the moment are, but then that is obviously foiled with what they bring to the community, as it were. So for Trevor, who's had two operatives that were very, very distinctly different, I made one that kind of spoke to some of like the nerdy scientist tech wizardry, and then also like the tattoos and bones persona as gear, and kind of split what I know of Trevor into two pieces to create those. Vapor was hot ball of sass and business, kind of like Strix is, and that's kind of the idea behind how I model their personalities, their abilities, what they specialize in, things of that nature. I think Warrior's hilarious, so all of his characters are not particularly bright, but I always make them funny in the low wits, mostly because I need Warrior's operatives to be skilled at like shooting stuff, otherwise the whole party would die. So there's a mix of what the virus needs versus the actual person itself, but that's how I usually try to go about building them.
Oh, I love that. And I do notice that in each of the characters, and it's not like so overt where you're like, oh, that's definitely the person that I know, because if you put it all in one character, who's to say they're not going to have somebody in season 3 or so, right, or in a whole other game. So I love that. And on that, we had 17 operatives,
17 community
operatives,
operatives. Yeah.
And that's fantastic.
It's a lot.
So Mindy is out of breath because Mindy has been,
if necessary.
It is, and it's
over
phenomenal.
2 seasons. So
but that's another
per season.
Can we give some props to Deej for being all of that, and it's like those oh my gosh, what are they called? The things that you do on Twitter with the character, like the creation, all that stuff. Like you reach in and you find the things about the people. So it is nice to be represented. So that being said, we do have a clip here. Buckle up and grab your carpet square, because we got a clip that's going to give you a little hello from these beautiful operatives. It doesn't include all the pivotal moments. So you out there who who you are, who did some things, it might not be here, but that just means you have to go watch all of season 2. If you're like, oh, wasn't there that thing? You got to watch season 2 on the YouTube. So go over there, do the thing. But here are the community operatives.
I'm Glasses. I'm here to help you. Not sure about this one. Sorry about it. Right behind you. I'll fly him. I'll do it. I won big last night, and you know what? I'm feeling really good. Vegas is my kind of town. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be right there behind you. In a good way. I'm Mama. It's nice to meet y'all. As soon as we get you bandaged up, you're gonna be on the path to a much quicker recovery, okay? Oh, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You got it. Look, you have to hold still. Okay? Daisy within the central portion, 2 shotguns, occasionally flipping up over, quick clacking off shots before ducking back down again, immediately reaches out, grabs you. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Look at him. There's no way he's gonna use that. Kicks heavy. Hold on tight. Shepard, by the way. Shepard. You see one of them disappear as you hear Shepard from the back end of the hangar rack a round. And that's why I'm the best. What is this scratch? Overnight? No, no way. 3 days. 4 maybe. He pulls out a small pistol and kind of looks at you. Get out of here. I'm not interested in passing the time. I'm interested in doing my job. You can call me Gear. I don't know exactly what it is, but you have a code and I can respect it. I had one prick shoot me twice.
Probably deserved it.
That feels unfair. My name's Bastion, by the way. Julius, this is all a bad idea. I'm not ready to die yet. What do you want to do? 3, 2, shit.
And here, take mine.
Julius! Where is Rose? I need to know where Rose is now. Step aside, I will help. I will help. My name is Pause. We are here to help. Pulling out something that almost looks kind of datapad-esque, and begins walking before touching an earpiece. 2 warehouses nearby. Both of them produce enough metal. We should be shielded. I wasn't able to get any internal readings, so we may have Zerk to deal with, but we should be able to gain access. What Glitch said. Let's go. Who are you?
What the fuck?
Fair enough. My name's Gemini. Form goes darting off, bounding in this overly elaborate way. Oh no, please don't eat me. It's all right. Hey, Gear, does the doc have any interest specifically in twins? Now we're gonna take you with us. Don't worry. It'll all be over when you wake up. Mage?
You look like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag.
I miss you too, baby. Operative Taurus, I'd shake your hand, but I'm using one to hold the other one in place right now. Dutch, do you have eyes or did you fuck up again? I'm Vapor? You're fucked. Dutch! Dutch! This motherfucker. I'm here for me. You look like shit. There we go. Anyways, so here's the situation. We need to get moving, and if you don't mind, I would like to do that in as an expeditious fashion as possible. Running towards medical. Got it! That's the right one. It had it. There it is. Let's go. But protocols. Yeah, we're on the same team here. Addison. I'm Blue. Who are you? Don't be fooled by the color scheme, you know. I have a lot of flair. It's been an absolute average circumstance meeting both of you thus far.
Well.
Congrats to our operatives.
Oh my gosh. We love our operatives here.
Laughing and crying that whole time.
Oh, so sad.
It's like
So
sad and
sad.
like I'm laughing through the tears, right?
Right.
Yeah. Because that's what's so fun is like they all have they have their moments, but
Oh.
and how
there's
you
something
guys-
meaningful about like them being connected to people we know and in our community that we
Yeah.
care about. It makes it that much more.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Well, did you guys feel
Ouch.
more pressure? Like Cage, thank you for this tie-in question. Cage and Chris with this tag team. Did you feel extra pressure because they were people in the community to save them and keep them alive? You know, if they were just any nobody, they kind of seemed a bit
Chris-
disposable
Yes.
in
Everyone's
this one.
nodding and Chris is like, I don't know,
Yes.
maybe.
The answer is yes.
I think especially in the first season, because I think there was a little bit of an acclimation to like permadeath, kind of what we were also dealing with, and that was like it got easier, but yes, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, that it makes it does make it very difficult when you're first, and then you're like, oh wait, this game is like we all die at some point, right? So they will, right, at some point. That is, yeah. Everyone in chat, it's so fun to see when people log in the beginning, when people are like checking in, but it was also devastating to like see, oh, they're KIA, cool beans, yep. And that's all updated.
Join the 15 others.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah. So this was another question. I was trying to find here. Because one that Nicole had asked really tied into what you were saying. So about this permadeath situation, I think Chris made a tweet, Nicole said, about discussing the PC's deaths in APs and how important do you think it is to condition players and viewers, because we have feelings too. How important do you think it is to condition everybody to be comfortable with the idea of permadeath? Because I think going into a campaign, at least in my mind, people are not expecting to just like, maybe fall on a grenade or something or several times. I don't know.
I feel like
but especially in
twice.
Yeah. Lots of twice.
I've done that twice.
What do you guys think? How important is it to condition yourselves and your players as you play these?
I think there's maybe two perspectives on that. And the first is, right, like when you start telling a story, you want to have like this fairy tale ending, right? Like you're telling a story, you imagine how it's going to go and you would like for it to go that way. But I also think it's important, and anyone who's spent time in a writer's room or who's spent time in some of those creative fields, they've probably heard the phrase, don't be afraid to kill your darlings, or sometimes you have to kill your darlings. And sometimes for the strength of the whole narrative, you have to get rid of something that you're very attached to, like a character, because ultimately the narrative is stronger when you're willing to give up something that means a lot to you in favor of perhaps something even stronger. So one of the things that I think is very relevant to Stay Alive is this is a narrative where the stakes are high. And so if you're not okay with losing your character, you should probably play another game. Yeah. Because otherwise, Deej has to hand wave ways that you don't die every episode. And he can do a lot of gymnastics, but probably not that much gymnastics.
Yeah. And
I'm not very flexible.
Well, it almost feels a little like the mechanics of this are to almost desensitize you, but at the same time, each of y'all, like, never once do I feel like you don't fully invest in your characters. Never do we sit here as viewers and think, oh yeah, they know that one's gonna die, or this is their throwaway character. So like, props to y'all for letting us. How dare you? Deej gets that question all the time. How dare y'all draw us in with these characters so hard? So to bring it back to us,
still don't have an answer for that, by the way.
I know. So, ponder that one. You have a little bit of time. You can
come up with an answer someday.
How dare. I think you'll continue to get those as you continue to show up and do content on the Free Forge. I imagine you will get that question. Yeah. On your regular streams on Mondays at 8 or Eastern, 7 Central, probably you'll get that question too. How dare.
Totally different context, but I still get that question, yes.
Yeah. Trevor out there, Tattoos and Bones, was saying in log 468, pinpointed it exactly. That's episode 14. Deej, you asked the chat NPCs for Vapor and Seeker to roll dice for the first time in Stay Alive, which was neato burrito for all of us. What was it like? That wasn't in the question. What was it like to ask? And what did you guys think as the cast members? What did you think when that happened?
My piece is pretty simple. Similar to my explanation for the operatives, I like working community folks in a way that is dedicated and honest and rewards the investment that we've received. And they were there, they were in chat. I was like, all right, this is your character in the world. Put it in your hands and send me the result. Since we obviously share a community, they can clearly communicate the info with me, and why not put it out in their hands?
Yeah. Did you guys think something crazy, nefarious was going on, cast members?
I mean, I didn't. I was totally here for it. I was all about like putting the fate of the characters that these people that are representing these people like in their hands. Like have Strix make that role. Like all of that stuff. Like this person represents that person in the audience. So bring in that audience participation.
Though that luck though that Paws had like in that last episode, I just happened to catch that like right before, but when Deej rolled and was like, wow, like we don't get those moments very often, but like there was an actual outside of the game reaction from Deej. Wow, Paws had an amazing roll.
Like two in a row, I think is what it was. Yeah. Like rolling 17, 18, very uncommon, and
consistently
did it twice. Yeah.
Fantastic. That seems very on brand for Solly.
Yeah.
So in this system in particular, speaking of all these roles, do you create, or all of y'all, do you create characters for this while also thinking about when they do end? Because as I said, I see y'all commit, but is that something that you ponder when you create them?
Yeah. I mean, I think some characters, every character is going to be different. But for most, and I'll just speak for me, most of my characters had a general idea of how they might die, especially as the story started to develop, and where we thought we might go and kind of where they stood with everybody else. Some characters, I have a clearer idea of that from the get-go. I think the balance with a game like this is unfortunately, you always kind of have to keep death somewhere on the radar. And one of the challenges that this game presents is that you want to find that balance of, I may only have 2 sessions, but I want that emotional reaction, response, whatever it is, whatever that response is, to happen at death. So whether it's happening in the initial character creation or as the story is progressing, kind of changes a little bit from character to character, but it's always somewhat on the radar because death is so present in this game.
Right. Yeah. And does anybody else have feelings about that with your character creations?
I mean, I think we certainly build our characters in hopes that they're going to survive. I've had 2 very different experiences. I knew from the second I built Justin how he was going to go. Right. He was going to make the sacrifice play. I knew it was going to happen. There was no way that wasn't going to happen. With David, very much, I had no idea where things were going to go because like I introduced David in season 1 because Chris was going to bring Gwen in season 1. And then Rose just kept living.
Rose just refused to die.
And so it was like, okay, well, maybe we won't bring Gwen in this season. I guess it's a season 2 thing. So like that could have never happened. We could have never had that arc in season 2. David could have died without Gwen ever showing back up, depending on how things went. So I had no idea what was going to happen with David.
I think, and I think playing into this next bit from Jen is a shark for those of you, all of you did have a second character, okay, at some point, though you may not have had a third, okay, some of you were luckily escaping the jaws of like a 6th character
Super
death.
Impressive, Josh.
I tried.
I know you did, you got it, you almost had him. But for those of you who created, or all of y'all, did your first character's stats have an influence on how you built your second one? Like, did you, oh my snap, they went fast, let me beef them up for this next one? I got a lot of nodding. Tony, I want to hear from you first. I'm targeting you for no reason in particular. I don't know.
So for me,
why?
When I build a character, the stats that the last character had influence what the new character has, because I don't want to make anybody that's too similar. So like Mage was very different from Julius, and Crow was very different from everybody.
Yeah.
So I try not to use the same combination of stats for any of my characters. Like Critical Hit had absolutely garbage stats for fighting, but he was probably the smartest character that I played. So
dig it.
Yeah.
Chris, what about you?
So it's a little bit, in TTRPGs as a general rule, I do tend to gravitate towards the character type of somebody that's a little more overtly charismatic, or I don't often play beefy or useful characters in a party, but lasting an entire season with one character definitely gave me, I think, a unique perspective that is now shared by Josh, in that, like,
Couldn't be me.
I wanted, when I built Rose and then the characters thereafter, I took the same approach, but it played out really differently. So with Rose, I really wanted to tell the story of somebody who's not supposed to be here. Like, outward appearances, scrawny, small, no discernible skills. And Rose was supposed to be this sacrificial lamb to set up this whole Poppy arc. And that ended up obviously going a very different direction. And so with season 2, I really wanted to explore new ways of being kind of useless in the party. So, Gwen was exceedingly good at one thing and worthless at everything else. And Smokey also was pretty good at one thing. So I love building suboptimal characters, just as a general rule. So I always go for what's the worst build I can come up with that will have the most impact on the story. And that's kind of what I guess what I had in mind when I was building.
That's good.
It keeps it spicy. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Which I think, especially because of Rose outliving everybody's expectations.
She's the only one still alive.
We kind of asked this question before. I had some D just like outraged over there.
I just don't even know how Rose made it. We all knew she was gonna die, and then
she literally just won't die, and now she's gonna kill
everyone. It's really hard to kill roses in general, like in the garden. So it's like
it's the
crazy appropriate. Yeah,
can relate.
Well, Cage had asked this question before, and I think we danced around with a similar idea of how y'all think these characters would be doing if there were no chat donos and all of this on the hype trains and all that stuff, because I think that legit changed Rose's like whole lifespan.
I mean, chat saved like episode 2 or something, episode 1 maybe, they were saving her butt constantly. So there would have been no Rose and Poppy 2-season story arc without chat's support. And even I feel, I don't know, and the operatives too. It's chat support, the bits, the donos, the high-end equipment, but also having the ARG and the operatives involved to kind of be our little safety nets here and there was huge. So, I mean, that's my perspective.
And I think what's kind of you saying it and kind of framing it that way, I think it's really cool because I think that lends itself to like chat in a variety of ways really helped tell the stories we were able to tell. Because just like Chris said, if we don't have some high-end equipment, we don't have an operative assist, we don't have A, B, C, and D, we don't get the finale we got last week. We don't get to see these stories progress because the characters won't last long enough.
Yeah.
So the stories that we got to tell, we legitimately got to tell because of some of the contributions and investment from chat and the community.
It's fantastic. And it is cool. I like to see it because we're like, oh, we are so close. We're like trying to stretch everything out as long as possible to give you a fighting chance, literally. Yeah. So
trying to time them, trying to keep track of when the hype trains are. And like, should we wait? Should we hold off on the hype train? Oh God, it's time. Like, but that's always really rewarding to see in the midst of the panic that's happening in game. It's always, it's like a we got you.
Yeah.
Blanket.
Which I think is cool to add that mechanic in, Deej, as part of this, like this system that may be out in the world to be playable sometime in the future, especially to have that as like a live element for those who may be viewing to, not only fund what's going on the channel as an aside, like you're making this as a donation to keep this all going, but also you're helping out in this system. So I think knowing that it is so brief, the lifespan of for the most part, the lifespan of the characters. But for those who don't know or might just be tuning in and seeing what the heck is going on, when there is a hype train active on Twitch, the players get to roll with advantage, correct? That is.
You get like a bonus. So there's an extra die you get to roll as like a,
like how it
feeling
like a guidance.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Basically.
Guidance.
Being well prepared is very hard to establish because where things can go wrong in a hurry and it's very easy to be at a disadvantage, it's very difficult to coordinate and facilitate your own sense of advantage in a given circumstance where everything is going wrong. So well prepared in the system are probably hard to come by, which means like a perpetual literal train of them that's why I feel it's probably so beneficial and why it ended up being such a instrumental impact, I think, through the season. So
yeah, thanks chat, thank you out there. I was a part of that. What am I talking about? Yeah, go me.
Thanks, me.
Thank you, Jammy.
Thanks, Jammy.
Thanks, Jammy.
Really quick, because we have this will tie into to some heartbreak. So get out there, put your headphones on and like get some tissues while I ask this next question. So Nicole was asking, and I tied into this one later, but what gave you the idea to allow the characters to have a final message? I thought that was so neat. And does every character have one prepared? Tell me. Thanks, Cage.
Yeah. Every character, like you're talking about, like, is your character prepared for death? Like, whenever you make a new character, you have to make a death note for that character. It's part of the character creation process. So every time we make a new character,
group chat,
yeah.
Yeah.
So every time a new character is made, a new death note is made for them.
And that what inspires you for those? Because I mean, like the question earlier was like, do you prepare for death? Well, you like have to have that in mind at some point. But we kind of brought that up the last time, I think, Josh and Tony, when we were talking, when you create those or when they're prepped, like what inspires you with those words? Some people sing for them. Some people do other things, but what do you think?
I mean, it's certainly, I think, going to be a little bit dependent for each of us based on the character. I think the key thing, and I can only really speak from my experience, but the key thing for me when I was thinking about a death note was, what is either the final thing I want this character to say to the group, or the final lesson learned that I want this character to bestow upon the audience. I'm going to rabbit hole for 2 seconds. A very formative web series for me when I was younger was Red versus Blue. And they had this great arc towards the end of their kind of main run where it ends with the story. Spoilers for something that's been out on the internet for a decade, but the story ends with this AI who's been helping the group of heroes has to delete his own memory in order to save room, in order to save them and get them through this difficult thing. And so it ends with this monologue of like him on a beach having this final monologue as he's deleting his own memories, going basically like, and I'm never gonna know if my actions have saved the day or not. And that's a bitch. And that's how the show ends. And I thought that was just such a touching and powerful moment. Like, I got goosebumps describing that because of how powerful that, like, heroes don't know if their actions are actually going to make a difference or not because they're dead by the time the difference is made.
Yeah. Oh man. Why do you always hit us where it hurts? Like, do you have some kind of radar for that?
It's Josh, yeah.
He's got skills. He's got skills.
I wanna touch on this because I think Josh, what Josh said is absolutely right. It's going to depend on a lot of different pieces, and I'm saying that only because I re-recorded these I think 2 or 3 times because her story arc changed pretty drastically, because her big thing was Crow, and then spoiler alert, like she thought he left her, and then she was suddenly faced with death by herself. So hers and her, there was thoughts that she was maybe gonna have a chance of whatever. So I redid hers multiple times. I also am realizing that 2 of my death notes never got played because Poppy was we didn't get to hear Crows either, because they were not being played by us when they died.
That's true.
And Adrian
That's
didn't
very
die.
true.
Adrian's
Rose also had several death notes,
That
and
makes
if
sense.
If Rose ever was back with us, I would have to re-record another one, because it's, to Josh's point, like I think that in addition to just punching chat right in the heart, it really does serve a very key narrative purpose, in that there is with a lot of these characters, a final, I like the word lesson or moral of the story or revelation that doesn't often have, there's no opportunity for that to come out in the game. So like we never heard Esme's note, but it was, it would have shed a lot of light on things had it gone down that way. And the same goes with Gwen and David. Josh and I couldn't decide what was going to happen with them, and we ended up recording individual notes, and we did a joint note if David and Gwen went together. So maybe Patreon content, who knows?
I know.
But,
I was going to
listened
say,
to
can we
it
get like
many
notes
times.
from the dead, please?
Why would you do that to yourself?
yeah,
Things that
one
it made us
thing
real
there-
sad.
Things that make me cry.
Yeah.
It made us really sad, but it also, I think, it ties a bow on a circumstance that would otherwise not get one, right? Like these deaths are fast, they're violent, they are sometimes very unceremonious. We had a couple of really cool show-stopping deaths, but a lot of them are just going, gently into that good night. So I think it adds the punctuation at the end of the story.
Yeah. Well, what inspired you to do that? Because that's not a normal, I mean, people get their like final words, but as part of this, what inspired you to do that?
For me, I think the main idea was, and this dates all the way back to holding action. I like to provide players when they're coming up to their final moments an opportunity to kind of speak their piece. But we knew with Stay Alive we were going to be changing the format of what we were doing entirely. We were going to make it like very much its own thing, try a lot of new stuff. The original plan, which obviously we veered away from a little bit, but the original plan was we weren't going to try and structure any of the content at all. And no matter if it was 10 minutes into the session or an hour and a half into the session, when somebody died, the episode would end right there. Doesn't matter how long we'd been on air. That was the original idea that we were working with. We ended up realizing that doesn't make for very compelling episodes, and it's very hard to tell stories that way. But that detail aside, I felt like something more cinematic, because we were going for a more like legitimate TV episodic structured kind of thing. I think having that as a signature was a really kind of unique choice that helped those moments stand out. And I think to what Mindy was talking about earlier, they have these kind of compelling telltale components to them, and to tack on to what Chris was saying, like I won't spoil anything because it's still very fresh. We just wrapped it, and going back to catch up is hopefully something people are interested in doing. But with the situation with Gear and Crow during our mid-season finale for season 1, everybody in chat was like, "We didn't hear the death note. We didn't hear the death note." Like there was this like definitive. People knew like maybe still, because we didn't hear the note, there's still a chance. So I think that's just kind of a cool, fun inclusion to do with something like this, and that gave it an extra layer of production that we were looking for.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful, and the fact that we haven't heard some of these sound like exciting content that perhaps will be sneaking out later. So whether it be on here on Twitch, if you're not already following, or on YouTube, or on Twitter somewhere, it might drop. So make sure that you're following everywhere humanly possible. But now that I see there's a hype train active. So therefore, that means that y'all have hopefully obtained carpet squares or a box of tissues or something to get comfy. Ready. Because we have a clip of David and Gwen that I am not emotionally prepared for. Maybe one of you is. I feel like probably Stemosis is emotionally prepared for that. And that's literally the only person. Yeah, it's definitely not us.
Definitely not us.
Or are you saying this is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of take her hand as we go for a walk. Darling, I don't know if I can do it.
Well, that's why I advocated that you didn't. But now we're here.
I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about what comes after this. I don't think I know how to go about my day if there's no Gwen.
You'll figure it out. I wish I didn't have to go.
I know.
Okay. So, this is the hard part.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 1, that's 2, and then that's 3.
Yes, and then step 4 is you get up and you go back to the school.
Gonna kiss her. So I prepare to go through with this. Kind of grabbing the first thing that I need. I'll just take a moment and look at her one last time. You know I love you, right?
I know. I love you too. And I'm gonna crawl into his arms and go to sleep. Good night, sweetheart.
Good night.
I hate everything.
I swear to God, can you please put it solely on Mindy? Thank you.
No.
Gosh.
For the record, as someone who went through and did the clips and had to edit some of the pieces, this is now the 10th time I'm in double digits in crying over this scene. I hate both of you so much.
It doesn't lose anything every time. It's still
God.
good.
It's fantastic. And like you're talking about like the production value of these like ending words, but it's like every single time y'all bring it, every single time. And it's a combination of like your amazing like ability to get into character. I'm not saying acting. It's you're in the character. You are the character at that point. But it's that anytime there's string music playing for anything, I will cry.
Yeah, the music was really rude too. It was just a horrible, rude combination by the three of you, and I don't appreciate it.
Yeah, I felt like a little personally attacked by that whole thing.
Okay, but did you die?
Beautiful.
But did you die?
I did on the inside, Chris.
Yeah. I bet
There's
you didn't even check up on Mindy
okay.
after that.
Oh my gosh.
There was a lot of checking up after that.
There was a lot. That one and the last episode,
Yeah.
which I'm not gonna ruin, but when it gets super heavy like that, we try to take extra time after the session to make sure everybody's in a good space to disconnect from the call. And so we are very careful not to leave people emotionally. I mean, sorry, chat, you are, but the rest of us are making sure we're not emotionally high and dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just get the ending scene and get reminded of like all the things that we have endured this whole entire time. But it's beautiful.
Sorry.
All that, everything is a whole entire experience. So again, if you haven't seen everything, if you haven't caught up yet, there's still time. We're trying not to spoil things, but you will cry. Like, you will cry, people will die. It's like Lord of the Flies, but not.
Is that what
Okay.
Lord of the Flies is?
Listen, on the investment note, Shadow Sylvia Candle was asking, what was one story you wish you could have told this season? Or, also like if you could, well, I'll start with that one. I'll start with that one because that's a big question. What was one story you wish you could have told this season?
I'd like to nominate Tony to go first.
Yeah, totally. I feel like, yeah, exactly.
We kind of know.
What stories did you not get to tell with your thousands of characters?
We definitely tried.
We did. And the one story I really wanted to tell and was cut so short was Mage. Like, I wanted to do so much more with that character and just didn't get the chance to. Like, the Mage Taurus thing, like everything was set up because Mage was a part of me. Like, Mage is my call sign when I played competitive airsoft. So
listen, if you're out there in chat or watching this, and if you want to do some like fanfic continuation of these stories, like the what if of Stay
The
Alive,
history
feel
of Mage
free.
and Taurus. Let's get that going.
Yes. I will
Canon,
100%
oh my gosh,
read that.
please.
Yes, because we have amazing artists out there who are doing art and submitting things and posting up in the Discord, which you should all be a part of anyway. But I think that would be super cool to see because I'm not a writer, but I definitely am a reader and I would eat that right up. So
Like, my Mage badge is hanging on my wall in my office.
oh, I love it.
Shouts to Aoife for all of the awesome,
so
amazing
much,
art.
Aoife.
Like,
Yeah.
Mindy and I have very elaborate plans to get our patches on jackets and
Yeah, it's
so-
a whole thing.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
You don't
Don't
have to
worry
do
about
the
it.
tattoo.
I mean,
Just
I
do
don't
this.
know if I need. It's fine.
Well,
I'm
I
just
guess
gonna
I'll
get
put
all
that-
of the operative badges tattooed.
Just put that on the list of things that makes me cry. It's fine.
Yep. Shutting
Yep.
my mouth.
Yep.
I will say, I would have said Esme, I think, but I feel like that story got told correctly. I think the entrance and exit were perfectly appropriate. I guess listen, Vapor, you could have had it all. That's all I'm going to say. You could have had it all, but now you're blowed up on a baseball field. So I hope you're happy, girl, because you could have had all this and you chose to go the other way. So whatever.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Calling them out.
Their
Okay.
loss. Shots fired, literally. Woo.
I was really excited at the start of season 2. Chris and I had mapped out this narrative arc of David and Gwen, kind of this falling out of love, because so oftentimes you'll see arcs in shows where there's a bad breakup, or it's all about people falling in love. And we really kind of wanted to do the opposite of that and tell a narrative about two people just going completely different directions and seeing a healthy parting of ways. And the virus said, no, you can't do that. But we had like planned out this powerful arc, and then it all, went to hell, but whatever.
Oh gosh.
Would you have rather that be the
I
way?
hurt.
That's so hard to say. Josh, I'm not going to step on your toes, but I loved the unraveling David that we got to watch in the wake of Gwen being gone. So
Oh yeah.
sure, that would have been an amazing story, but we got a different amazing story instead because of the way the dice rolled. And for me, yeah, that would have been cool, but I didn't feel like the season was lacking because we didn't get to tell that story. And because we didn't get to tell that story, it honestly opened up the door for, my next care. I had never, season 1, I was not experienced. I had to get used to doing multiple characters over and over.
What is
so I
this life?
wouldn't have gotten to tell some of
Yeah.
those stories had Gwen lived. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Plus, it was really hard to be rude to everybody in character. Like for
It was
2
so
hours
great.
every week. It was so hard.
I guess. So D was like a whole thing. But then like the virus said no. D was gonna have this, especially with the separation from Crow and this introduction to Rose, who was this little bit like, how the heck is she still alive? Dynamic, was going to have this potential redemption kind of situation, which didn't get to plan out, which meant I kind of got to like reuse bits and pieces of it for Lexi, even though that manifested very differently too. I'm gonna speak to because Chris had mentioned Esme kind of walking away, like that made sense for that story, and I kind of feel the same way about Adrian. I'm a little, there's parts of me for like non-game related reasons that are sad that her Death Note didn't get to play. Spoiler alert, it felt like it was my goodbye to teaching. So yeah, it was, but it felt right for her not to continue on. And sometimes it wasn't the plan initially, but as the story developed, as people started dying and circumstances started changing, that's another one that it's not at all what I imagined, but it felt like the right story for her, even though it ended up being shorter, at least in game.
Yeah. Oh man, I forget every character because there have been so many. Like I forget, so I'm like, oh man, dagnabbit, these characters. On this same subject of having characters and wishing that they had a different story, Mergs was asking, is there one character or villain you miss the most / would bring back for a one shot? So it's kind of like the fanfic idea, like. You could use them later. Which one would you choose?
Assuming we can have access to all the ones that died, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
You're bringing them back.
Character villain.
Point, right?
Sure. Oh.
I mean, it's Roman for me all the way.
That's a good question.
All the way.
Oh yeah, Roman.
Oh, yeah.
Roman was
I wanted more of
like
Roman.
in a hot way.
Yeah,
and I didn't know what to do with those
don't
feelings.
Know how I feel about it.
I need more Roman so I can explore that part of my personality.
I need to process that a little bit more.
I wanted more Frankie and Roman.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Ooh, yeah.
that dynamic was so good.
I would listen to an audio drama like leading up to like the Frankie Roman split.
Ooh, like bits and pieces of the progression of that dynamic.
My God.
Shouts to Dread Void Queen, the wonderful Hands for coming through and being an awesome guest.
Oh my gosh.
Lovers to enemies. Can't be beat.
Yeah.
That exit though, I mean, yeah,
That was powerful.
yeah, on
An
many
excellent
levels.
choice by Frankie.
Yeah.
Explosive.
Some may say. We are on it today, y'all. I know. Chat wants more Frankie. I feel it. I know. I agree with the Roman
Emma.
one. That was.
Yeah, Roman was a really good one. As for a character,
yeah. I think I would be I could see it being very outside of people's. No, specifically, if Mindy played Roman, I think I would have a conniption. Like, I don't even know how imagine.
I mean, I'd be here for it. I still wanted the Rose Justin ship that we never truly got to see.
I took out the question because we had so many others, but I asked in season 1, like, if there wasn't like a Zerk apocalypse, like, would they be a thing?
Good,
maybe,
you know what I mean? Like,
maybe.
So funny.
We talked about that.
In episode season 1, episode
Justin
1,
died.
Mindy.
Well,
I almost said Mindy, Chris, and Josh. Mindy and Josh and I. There were little hints dropped. If you go back and watch, there's little things between Rose and Justin, and also Justin and God. Who was the photographer that got
Josie.
blown up? Josie.
Yeah.
There was like little.
What was her name?
Sorry,
She died in like
so many.
2 episodes.
She died 2 seconds into the season. But yeah, there's little nuggets that were dropped. We just didn't get there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We died instead.
We got to do that. Well, you didn't.
What
You just
a
had to watch
waste.
everyone else
Poor
die.
choice.
I know.
I'd do it again.
Well, we do have a beautiful final words clip. Speaking of death.
Oh God.
That kind of checks out.
Yeah. So if you want to get in your feels once more, because this is what this show is all about.
Yeah,
It's,
the last goodbyes.
The last goodbyes. Let's hear them.
What are your last words? 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 What are your last words?
Live.
Make it count.
Always knew it was cardio that was going to get me.
Fuck.
She doesn't have any.
Sometimes are masters of their fates. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings. So remember, maybe don't piss off the guys in black.
Good night, sweetheart. No words, just a hollow chuckle.
Like cattle needing to be put down. I'm coming home, Jacob.
Watching rodeo.
Well, team, might be a little more than half a dozen.
Let's rumble.
Gross, right?
Dang. Dang.
That's a lot of death. What's wrong with us? Are we
But
okay?
That's especially hard because some of them were definitely like, this is it, but some of them were
Yeah.
crafted. So when you see it coming, it's one thing, but when it's just like, ta-da, now you dead. How like in those moments, tell us, maybe not the not the curse words one, but like
Yeah.
what do you think?
Moses out here talking about it wants a TPK until your eyes got bigger than your stomach.
Yeah,
on that.
and then Stamos was like, wait, I take it back. Do you ever want for something, then you change your mind halfway
Yeah, I
after
know,
it's
right?
done?
Too much red.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
There's all that. Go check out the season finale. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, check out all
Just
the good
bring some
stuff.
tissues.
Well, what do because you had already had your final words, I mean your final message crafted. So when you say your last words, they're in the moment, right? Or do you yeah, I see a lot of yeses.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I never planned out any of my last words, but also,
How could you?
two, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
How many times did I do
Yeah.
that? I didn't. It was off the cusp for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to plan out Julius's last words just because
It's Julius.
it's
Yeah.
Julius.
That's
And
very
I-
on
You
brand.
have to, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And
So-
I had an entire list of just like things that would be appropriate for many moments. So
Oh, I love that.
Some characters I would have an idea of where I thought what I thought, because I will if I don't have at least a general idea or a conception in my brain, I will panic. So I usually would have an idea, kind of a loose idea, but much like any TTRPG, I would always be revisiting it. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's fantastic to have, like, you say the last word, but then you also, get the composed, like, final clip of what you say post mortem, really. I think that's
Goodbye to the world.
Yeah. Mr. Mann was asking, do the players have backup characters already made, or do they roll as they go after each death? So we kind of touched on this for whatever reason. Please go back and watch it if you feel like looking at every character
That's also
Tony
on
has made.
YouTube.
Yeah, check it out on YouTube. The last episode where we had Josh and Tony on there, not only to see Tony's clip of the characters, but Josh's journey. That was a whole other thing. I meant to bring that up earlier. Josh's journey that clip will get you crying for sure. Anyway, the deterioration and everything, but the backup characters and how many do you have? Because Chris didn't get this question. How many do you have waiting? And I don't think Mindy got this either. How many do you have waiting? And when do you create those?
The 2 seasons were a little different. With season 1, built Rose, built Gwen, and then had a loose concept for a third, but I really didn't flesh it out because I was like, I'm going to wait until I get through these 2 to kind of see where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And that took a season and a half. So the second season was a little different for me in that I felt like I was having to play catch up a little bit more. I didn't feel quite as, so when one would go down, or if I'd had one for a whole episode and they lived, I was like, nope, they're not going to get 2. So I'm going to go ahead and start trying to figure out what I got to do. So with the exception of one of my season 2 characters, most of them were loosely planned out, but not rolled up until the last one was dead.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of how, so my approach was basically, okay, first season was rough because I knew there was going to be death, but like I wasn't ready for that much death. So first season was kind of just some ideas got developed as characters were getting built. For the second season, I came into the season with 3 characters. Oh my god, I only needed 2 of them. Good job, me.
Hey, understood the assignment.
That's really improvement for me. Yeah, still had it's fine. But I had 3 prepared, and much like Chris, I didn't roll my characters up until the character preceding it actually died, which I think is funny because the wording of that question in terms of like rolling it on the fly, the nature of our show is we don't do that because there's a lot of asset and production that goes into making sure the characters are embedded. So there's a lot of work in preparing, like, do you know your character's gonna die? If you do or you don't, or if you know they're gonna leave. There's a lot of work that goes into that to make sure production-wise we can kind of align. And Deej can probably speak to this more, but the actual like character creation process is specifically designed to be quick. Like if we were just playing this offline without the extra elements that come with a performance, I think it maybe would be there's just the rolling the character, creating the character itself from a mechanical standpoint
like
was
5 minutes.
Specifically designed to be quick.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. That's a good thing to know, people out there who might be interested in playing someday.
When it gets a commercial release, yeah. We did just recently, I started exploring, talking to experienced GMs, DMs about running some precursory sort of trial games as I refine. So hopefully we'll be looking to maybe segue out some kind of official news in the infinite future potentiality of a season 3. It may evolve that way. So
right on. Well, in that, like in the character creation bit, there were 17 community operatives on top of the other characters that you had introduced, Deej. So when do you choose to bring these, especially the community people, because they are like not anywhere in particular. They're not like, I'm going to be here in this arena, or I'm going to be over hiding in the woods trying to pop out at you and no good time. When do you choose to introduce, or how do you choose to introduce them? What time?
All of the operatives, generally speaking, are built when I'm like up at 2 a.m. and I should have been in bed like a long time ago. And I'm like, hey, I got this really cool idea for this operative and this ties in well with that. And it just becomes this weird, like, isolated rider in a sort of hotel in the middle of nowhere check-in kind of thing where I'm just dialed in and working on it. And then they get introduced kind of based on what is needed from the survivors. Pause and Glitch got introduced when reconnaissance and medical emergency needs were kind of right up in there, with them needing to kind of go out and explore. Bastion, as like this sort of protector tanky type, was brought in to try and aid Julius, who was not a tanky type. Even the early introduction of Taurus in season 2 was the allusion to the third coming, and this sort of cursory group was similarly like distance-based reconnaissance, but also the ability to engage hostile targets at a distance. So that's kind of why he was introduced early on. So the operatives are introduced in whatever order it makes sense to have them be a very immediately effective tool for the survivor, as much as possible. Obviously, there's some wiggle room in there, but that's the idea behind it, at least.
I dig it. It's nice to know that you also lose sleep over this, as we lose sleep over everything that happens in the episode.
I just don't sleep in general. So
that's also true.
A much easier fix.
That's how we get this amazing content, is nobody sleeps.
Don't encourage that. Nope.
No, you do need sleep. It's part of your post-episode care. You've got the self-care.
Oh, I don't sleep for hours after our sessions.
Yeah,
no way.
I was gonna say, actually, those are the latest nights for me sometimes, because it's a coming down from that adrenaline, especially depending on the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's hard because then we get the wonderful VOD squad out there, who then just ramp back up the emotions. Yeah, it's
reliving the stress all over again. It's beautiful, but why?
I know. Well, it's nice to know that, you know, you're not alone in feeling all of this, because we thank goodness for the chat, because again, I've said it before, like, it's nice to have other people to commiserate with. Yeah. Yeah, suffer together. That's a horrible tattoo. Don't get that one. Let's veto that idea.
You get the together, I'll get the suffer, and then we'll put our arms together like that. And
there you go.
A solid solution.
Exactly. I mean, I think the arc tattoos on Deej's inner thigh he talked about earlier, all the 17
all of them, all
chat related ones.
Yeah.
But Deej, from Elle, I thought this question was really interesting. Elle was saying, Deej, have you decided if the virus breaks down the genetic makeup of a human or just alters their DNA? Interesting.
I won't go into the like weird long extrapolation of all of the research that I did kind of preceding some of our Stay Alive stuff.
It was a lot.
It was probably more than it needed to be, but there is a alkaloid application derived from scopolamine, which is basically an anti-nausea medication that is generally prescribed. However, the root source combined with proteins from a PIFA virus have a high mutation chance, and essentially it doesn't modify the DNA. It more or less hijacks systems within the body, and picture it growing a tiny little puppet master inside the brain and just pulling the strings of the body after it disconnects the brain from the rest of it. That's kind of the most, as non-scientific as it sounds, there's biological science behind the reasoning why we did it, which is also why it doesn't do anything to you actively while you're alive unless the viral load you receive is too much for your immune system to deal with. So everybody is infected to some extent, but unless you receive a direct concentrated form of the virus, it's not going to immediately take over and kill you.
Oh, dang. It's like, hey Siri, what did he just say?
I mean,
translate to.
If you want to waste the time, you can certainly look into it. There's stuff there, but you know, it's all like fiction and fantasy. But I wanted to give it at least a foundation behind some things that exist.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so interesting, is because like you can tell it's not just like, oh well, they just do that, that's just what they do, you know. Then it wouldn't, like, who's gonna care? There's no background information on these things. We need to know. We also need to know why they're flying, dagnabbit.
Yeah,
why
I have some significant questions about
there
the
might be a little
yes.
less science involved in that one. That they just do that. That's just, you know, we'll say that there's a healthy mix of both. Yeah.
And anything that happens, there's going to be a percentage of mutations. And speaking of percentages, did you know that right now that everything in the Stay Alive merch store is 20 to 40% off?
You did it.
So you
A
should
master of his
totally
craft.
go out there
Okay.
and check out the merch store and stock up on some Stay Alive swag.
We're basically giving it
Yes.
away.
Get
Yeah.
it. Show that mug off one more time,
Legitimate
Mindy.
basement floor prices.
Yeah. Get the shirts, get the zerks. You want it. You know you do. Thank you for
Get
that.
the
Tony.
Zerks.
Zerks are jerks. T-shirt not
But some of
available,
that, but some of that stuff will be transitioning out of the store, correct? So that sale is like, make the most of it, y'all. Make the
you gotta
most
make
of
room.
it.
Okay, new merch
Gotta-
coming in. You gotta make room.
Yes, there's
true.
more to come. We know Nicole said, and yes, I'm calling you out, Nicole. Nicole was like, how dare you peg me on that question? You literally asked the questions out there, community.
That's your fault.
Survivors out there in chat. You're the ones who asked these questions, and they're so good. So let me stop. Nicole said, we know rough details on the virus's creation and how quickly it spread. Could you tell us anything about how day one went? Like y'all sitting in in your chairs there. What were your thoughts on what the heck Deej just said? Day one.
I mean, we kind of have a little bit of experience with goes on a day one when there's no outbreak. I don't know. I'll let
Kinda,
Deej
sorta.
kind of explain that.
For those who happened to find themselves near MomoCon when we did our live play in front of live actual audience, and we were all in the same room together. Very cool experience, a lot of fun. But we did a day of infection. We changed the timeline out, and I think it was super chaotic and a lot of fun. And I will go so far as to say it provided a really cool foundation for more stories that we are excited and potentially interested to explore further. So I will say that on it.
And I will add that there are plans in the interim, should we get the opportunity to dive into a season 3, that the plan right now is to take the video that we have. I have looked through it now, and I'm confident that we can make that a actual viewable thing for those that weren't able to join us at MomoCon.
Sweet.
Take it. So yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited because I was super bummed. Everyone's like, we had a great time. It was so cool. And like seeing y'all together, like, dagnabbit. I'm so glad we're going to be able to see that. Hopefully.
That was good.
Josh
So make sure you're following
was
YouTube.
reckless, okay? Reckless, Josh.
I didn't have to try to keep my character alive for more than one session, so I didn't.
That's kind of
That's
legit.
beautiful.
though.
It was
That's kind of
amazing.
legit. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good escape.
It was worthwhile. It was fun.
Well, that's what's cool about it. You could play however you want to play. And if you decided to create your character that had a very limited lifespan, that's but we did have I saw it pass through, and it was also in my mind to do earlier. So Tattoos and Bones, Trevor was asking, y'all, what questions do you have for each other? Because I know you wrap up at the end and it's all like, you have, like, we made it. The end. Deej goes to bed laughing, like, to himself. Like, what questions do you have for each other? The ringing of
I collected
Yeah.
more tears.
Throwing character sheets into a
Streamer
witch's brew, as I
tears.
like saying.
Yeah, what do you have? What do you guys want to ask each other?
I mean, sometimes depending on the character, I just want to look at Chris and be like, who hurt you, sweetheart? Just
Yeah, that's totally
What-
valid.
what is their
Character
name?
would
I
make
will
you say
find
that.
them.
All of my characters were
Circles all.
perfectly healthy, differentiated people that were very mentally sound. No, to answer that question with a modicum of seriousness, I think it's where I am in my journey, my career. As an AP performer, I think people generally start out telling a certain type of story. I am a hero. I come from whatever, and I'm going to conquer all and whatever. I have really found my groove in playing profoundly damaged people because especially in a setting like this, right, where there's no high fantasy magic that you can just like magic your way out of things. You are a garbage person like you would be in this actual world that we live in. So that was a huge motivation for honestly all the characters, maybe except for Rose, was I wanted to play characters that were like inaccessible in some way or whatever. Rose just got damaged. She wasn't supposed to be that traumatized.
Yeah, she just now is.
Got broken
naturally.
repeatedly.
It happened naturally.
But yeah, I don't know. It's fun to hurt in front of your friends, I guess. I don't know.
Mood. Big mood.
Yeah. Chris just came to me and was like, how can we hurt chat this time? That was the whole
Honestly,
goal.
though.
Like, we just want to break hearts. That's the only approach we took.
Yeah.
It worked. It worked.
I do have a question for Josh, actually. Had David survived,
Oh, yes.
what's next for him? Where, like, you speaking as someone who was just repeatedly traumatized beyond repair, what happens to David if he makes his way in the world?
Yeah, I had a couple of thoughts for that. I could have seen a world where if both David and Taurus survived, where he would potentially, want to join the operatives, seeing as that is where his only remaining living friends are. I could also see a world where he might have chosen to go off and become a hermit in a very, very heavily protected cottage out in the woods with landmines around it.
Let's have a season with old David. And
I was just going to say, that's how you set up the then he meets a little girl and she opens his heart up again and then they save the world.
Oh my God, it's a beautiful, but then somebody
write this movie.
And then your heart's broken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's got to be David.
They already did. It's called Wolverine. Anyway.
I was about to say, you're describing old man Logan.
Yeah, you're describing Logan.
Logan, yeah. That's
okay, but this is different. This has zombies.
It's David.
Totally different. Obviously.
David isn't from Canada, so it's different.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different.
Wholly different circumstance.
Never joined A-Force. Totally separate.
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't give it too much thought because we haven't really gotten to it. But I think those are the two primary directions he could have gone.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and again, if you want to watch the clip up to the point where we interviewed Josh last episode, you can watch the journey of David, which is you saw part of it earlier, but man, if that clip wasn't another emotional roller coaster.
David is also our longest survivor too.
Yeah. Are you guys going to give out medals to one another?
We need achievements.
Most characters dead. Tony. That's you.
I think we could give Rose, if we were to give superlatives, I think we would give Chris / Rose most other characters killed.
Dang, I remember you getting spiced up in chat about that.
Roasting me so hard season 1.
I was.
Team Wade.
So hard.
Team Wade, never forget.
Here's the actual truth, right? This is not like D&D party where my cleric's gonna resurrect me, right? This is you
I
or
need
me.
to survive.
I
and
choose
it's gonna be me.
So,
and even if you didn't ask, I choose me. So whatever.
The inverse of Tony, which is why Tony died every 2 episodes.
I know,
Just
right?
want to help people.
Yeah, it's like
good.
at the end of the session, all right, Mage, Gwen is surrounded by a hunter zerk and a big swarm. What would you like to? I'm just gonna go run out there and then get scratched and comes back I don't know what happened.
Every session. In fact, I'm pretty sure something similar happened in the one shot at MomoCon too. He just can't help himself. Tony can't help himself.
Oh,
I called you on it too.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's right.
I called you on it.
Look, I want to be a badass, but I just want to save people too, deep down.
Oh, Tony.
The heart wants what the heart wants. You know what I mean? You gotta.
I want to be the
lean into
Punisher, but I'm really just Captain America.
Hey,
That
and
feels
both are amazing.
accurate.
that. But you got America's ass, okay?
Both are amazing. I mean, I can't. Do you have any more questions for one another? I like this because you don't get to do this.
I think we had a lot of stuff planned. We all coordinated pretty heavily to make. Yeah, it didn't always actually
rarely
come to fruition the way that we originally had intended. But I guess the one thing I would be most curious about, at least kind of within the scope of this setting, is what was everyone's sort of super spontaneous or unplanned occurrence that just sort of naturally evolved. The real standout stuff that literally just happened in the moment, the magic you held in your hand kind of thing, you know? That's what I'd be most curious about.
So mine is the MI6 joke that I did
Oh
not
my gosh.
expect to carry on the way it did.
Yeah, that was great. That was a perfect
beautiful.
example. Mm-hmm.
That's the tattoo.
God. Just
Of
keep
the
listing
notes,
all
too.
the tattoos we have. This is gonna sound so boring, maybe, but as somebody who didn't up until Lexi play a super physically intimidating or capable individual, because I clearly was making my characters all wrong for most of everything, but my favorite this is ridiculous, but the scene in the helicopter when we are escaping and she goes to just like straight up kick the Zerkadactyl out of the chopper by holding, I don't know, it felt so badass, and I don't play characters like that very often, and I was having a blast. I don't know if that counts. I'm counting it.
Sure, it
Counts in my heart.
Why wouldn't it? It all
Yeah. That, oh my gosh, that whole entire thing. Oh, that whole entire helicopter situation. That's when I was like, David, hang on, David.
Oh,
I was worried about Crit too. Good Lord.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my
Crit
gosh.
had been on the show all of 10 minutes and had already almost died like twice.
Already trying to
Already
kill me.
almost falling out of a helicopter.
Oh,
Literally.
Thank goodness for the agents there coming in hot
Those
with that
operatives came in,
meds.
yeah.
The operatives. Good gravy.
Oh, I don't want to give anything away, but the whole finale was just not great for Crit across the board.
I loved Crit though.
I feel like it wasn't great for anybody, honestly. At least
Right?
Crit.
That's
you know,
true.
Crit's the
I
only.
mean, just
it's
linking
fine.
up with the
It's
group
fine.
though, like
It's fine.
nobody had a worse compacted like hour and a half of time. I feel like than
Welcome
Crit.
to our party.
Yeah, it was.
So
it was
we're
very
gonna go
concentrated.
save the world. We need someone for the other people to shoot at while we shoot at them.
Yeah,
Thank you.
basically.
oh, sure. Sure, yeah.
Didn't even know what he was signing up for.
Yeah.
Well, and again, another character that didn't feel like it was just like half baked. It was like, okay, I felt like this character could end. Okay, no spoilers. This character could theoretically continue to go on and do crazy, amazing things. So I respect that about all y'all.
I would love to have Crit's Death Note released at some point for sure.
Yes, I can't wait for all of these. Oh,
That's Patreon content.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What about Kristen and Josh? What were your moments? Or Deej, what was your moment? As a
yeah,
GM?
yeah. Nerdcore album.
So this is something that Tony does that drives me up the wall completely, absolutely makes my anxiety spike every time. We will talk about like, hey, what about this? What about that? What about whatever? Trying to put a plan together for a narrative. I could be into that. And it's like, all right, so like, is that what we're going to do? Like, I don't know. We'll see. Like,
Maybe.
Oh, God,
Like, so
that one got me. Whew, that got me.
I want to plan. Would you prefer this or would you prefer
Maybe.
this? It really kind of depends on what like, I get that. I will make certain things happen. Which route would you like to go?
I love
So-
it.
One of the things that we had talked in advance about was the like the real like wolf stare down moment between Roman and Crow, and kind of what we wanted to evolve into that. And anybody who was paying attention for 6 minutes knows that Roman's like not a very good dude, and Crow's outnumbered and surrounded,
But
and there's
also
all
kinda
these
hot.
like all of these variables involved. And then it's okay, Crow obviously gets his back pushed up against it, and I think we have a plan going through, and then Tony's just like, let me just roll to determine my decision here. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure you're gonna roll? Is that what we're gonna do?
Every time.
Oh man.
God. Especially with Tony's magical dice.
Yeah.
I never remember.
The dice, honestly.
Yeah.
The math rock.
It did
Yeah.
not, there was one
I just had to
episode in
start planning
particular
what
it
me and
did
Tony
not.
talked about, and then also the opposite thing. That's kind of how I had to start.
I
preparing
mean,
for that.
we've established that my dice thoroughly hate me, which is why I need to go to Die Hard Dice, one of our fantastic sponsors,
Oh
and just
my
pick up a new
goodness.
set.
Ah, hey. He promised he'd get it. He promised he'd get it. He'd get it. Yeah.
I
Nailed
feel
it.
like your dice are perfect for this though. For this
For
mechanics
dying?
of this.
They like the drama. They definitely like the drama.
That's fair.
Disagree.
I was gonna say live it
Strongly
up.
disagree.
I
Disagree.
like to see this, Deej. I like to know that there was anxiety. You didn't
Yeah.
show it, except for like twice or thrice. I know someone out there like knows exactly when those points are, but
it took me a while to even acclimate to killing players as readily as we did. When there was the showdown between Art, Josie, and I don't even remember the NPC's name now, but like when the moment of praxis came,
They got ripped apart, so it doesn't really matter.
like my heart was pounding, and I was able to stay in character, but like there's a physiological response to that kind of anxiety you can't suppress. You can control how you react to it, but like there was no acclimating to, all right, it's coming. You can read all about any circumstance, but the first time it happens to you, your heart gets going a little bit, and it got out of hand pretty quickly from there. And then we just started adding bodies. Then by the end, who cares? Kill them.
Well,
whatever. Done.
I think that's important to note. Like that adjustment to permadeath wasn't just for the players. Like
Right.
as Deej doesn't. That's not his MO when he's running other games. Like that was an adjustment for him as the GM too.
Right.
There were many
Yeah.
conversations. The decompression.
We also I think that in this setting, in this system, in this game, there is like a consideration that has to be made in order for the danger and the heartache and the fear to feel valid. And with other RPGs, you can plug in dragons and monsters and like these things that will inherently, put those feelings into place for players, but it's not the same as you having to dig deep and manifest something truly evil. You know what I mean? Like Zerg are what they are, but a lot of the more compelling villains were just
Survivors.
twisted humans who had gone to the darkest place a person can go, like the European guy that was hunting us down. You know what I mean? Like
right.
that takes a lot out of a person to access because you want it to feel real, but it also is not who we are as a cast in here. So it's like you really have to go there with some of those things.
Some of us.
Some of us. Whatever. I just live there. But I think for me to answer that question, the spontaneity.
So curious.
I will say I have two moments. One was the season finale. What happened was not planned. Apparently, nor was it supposed to happen. But I guess my dice called Tony's dice that day or something. I don't know what happened, but like
The dice were
the scene that I'm not going to elaborate on, but you know what I'm talking about, was out of pocket.
You were there,
Not at all planned, and really came from a place of loving these characters and really identifying so completely with a character's story. The moment I can talk about was season 1 when Rose left Josie behind to die. That surprised me in the moment. That was not who I built Rose to be, but when I was following her gut instincts, that's what happened. And that really was like, oh, this is who she is. Like that like busted the whole thing open for me, because I was like, oh, she's a self-preserving, whatever. So yeah, that was unplanned, but very informative for me.
Yeah,
It's time you left my camera.
Developmental.
Oh, and that was also a camera pun, Deej, with the developmental.
We're so sharp.
Oh, okay.
Josh, what's yours?
I think for me, the thing that I least expected but was most pleased with was I built David to very much be like a bit of a supporting character. I had expected, after playing Justin, who was like a little bit of a rock star kind of character, I was like, I want to take a little bit of a backseat and make sure that I'm not spending too much time directing where the party is going, right? I don't want to be the driving force, but this leadership capacity was really kind of thrust upon David, partially because of just what was happening. We lost a couple of our really strong personalities in D, and then Rose was just like, I just need anything to at this moment, and Rose and Poppy were so disengaged from the new Eden population that it felt like, oh well, David just kind of has to step up in this moment. And Julius, I think eventually stepped into a little bit more of a leadership capacity, but I was not expecting David to be like, okay, I'm the one holding shit together right now, and that was really what happened. And I think the turning point for him was when he had to put down his friend behind the warehouse. That was a moment where it very much became real in my mind. I was like, oh, David is the leader of these people now, and he doesn't want to be, and he's not prepared for this. And it suddenly became this heavy burden in my mind, and also for David.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I
Why are you gonna bring that up to every single time? My heart. Oh, go ahead, Mindy.
I was gonna say, we kind of got to see that narrative progression. So I like that you kind of outlined that, because that's exactly what we saw. Because the attack on New Eden, and then not only was David witnessing all these people that maybe could or already had a leadership role die / helping them find their way past serfdom, but that was basically our introduction to David, was that unplanned transition to, okay, someone has to lead.
Yeah.
Oh, David might have died in the exchange with Roman at the onset, so you never know. But
fair.
Oof. I think it'd be interesting for these characters to take a personality assessment, each of these, to do one of those, whether or not it's Myers-Briggs or that creative one.
Chris's face.
Oh, I actually do that for my characters usually. I just don't do them for these because they go so fast.
Right. It's a lot. It's a lot. But it is interesting to maybe that'll be another side release on top
we'll
of
learn
these.
more about these characters that are dead.
Yeah.
Some of them.
They all have pre-stories that have yet to be told. Okay.
I've already written an epilogue trilogy in my head for Rose, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm here for that. I had 2 survivors.
It's true.
I did.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Finish the joke.
Well, I if y'all don't have any other questions for each other, because I know I don't know how long you want it, because we could go on forever. I could sit here and listen to y'all talk about this for longer than the season went on. But do you have any final questions?
I think we covered some good ground. We've obviously had an opportunity to connect on this pretty frequently, and we take good care of each other after the show to make sure everybody's kind of still vibing, and we're going to be getting together to hopefully talk about what the future of what we can produce together might hold still. So we're always keeping our finger on the pulse.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, I appreciate all of y'all taking the time to hang out and chat today. It has meant so much to me. It's meant so much to the community. And I think, what you got, dear?
Oh, I did have one last question for the rest of the cast that has got a chance to try it. Of the 4 specially blended Stay Alive teas by Dryad Tea, which one is your favorite if you've had a chance to try them?
Ooh.
I mean, I have had some of the Dryad teas, and they're amazing. I had not gotten a chance to buy our line because I go through coffee too fast. So I save tea for my special cozy nights. But I haven't gotten a chance to try ours yet. Yeah, there haven't been a lot of cozy nights, but Dryad Tea, they do have a lot of really cool blends.
Yeah, they got a lot of cool swag on there. A lot of cool stuff.
I got a little tea ball with like a little skull on the end, which I felt was very appropriate for Rose.
Yeah.
So
that's on brand for I feel like many of your characters.
At least now, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you for tying that in, Tony. Perfect. Flawless
Mindy, I know
execution.
that you've had some of those for sure.
Can't hear you, Mindy.
Okay.
Oh my God, yes.
doing her pantomime.
I'm so good at the words when I'm trying to send them telepathically. Yeah, Archangels. Archangels is my favorite. Although I'm trying to make sure I get the fourth one.
There's one with orange peel that I kind of almost ruined. I'm not much of a tea person, so I didn't do a very good job making any of it, but I did get the Stay Alive sampler. I tried them all. The orange peel one was pretty good.
Nice.
Nice.
Archangels is my favorite.
Even ruined, it was still very good.
I don't know how you ruin tea. I would like
very easy to do.
I got skills, my G.
That is true.
I got skills, my G. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Overbrewing it.
Okay. I'm not gonna give my secrets away.
Fair. I've got the teas, and then I packed for a cross-country move, and they're in a box somewhere. So someday I will report back with that when I find the box where the tea is.
He'll throw it in the Stay Alive chat.
Hiding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Stay safe, stay awake is my other go-to. That's my caffeine of choice.
Yeah.
That's just in me already. That's directly implanted in my interior.
A fan of, and this is where I leave you. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That line in general. Listen. Yeah. Make sure you get your merch, get your tea, get your dice, get your carpet square and your tissues, then rewatch all of season 2. So
get your stuff and your things. Yeah.
Get your stuff. Throw all of your other teas in the trash.
Yeah, exactly. That's a
you can never drink anything else again.
Yeah.
Get that throwback to holding. Oh man, I miss them.
Sure.
Well, thank you again so much for your time. Y'all are fantastic and everything. I know you guys are doing different projects, so if we can take a moment so we can all see what you're doing next move, if that's cool. I know I've already taken so much of your time, but I also like each and every one of you. So please, I know y'all are doing cool things. So what's I guess we can go in the order. I see Chris on the screen is the next one. So what you doing? What's up with you?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. You can find me in addition to this production. I am a regular cast member of the Forge Academy podcast, which is a 5e podcast it used to be set at a magical school, but it has really popped off. So you should check it out. We just dropped, I think, our 100th episode or something like that, and hit a new arc. So it's a perfect time to jump in and get caught up. And I got a lot of other things cooking, but that's probably the other main thing I do.
Awesome. Well, Miss Mindykins here on the Free Forge.
Yeah, I'm doing stuff and things. You can find me on Twitter. Or you can find me everywhere on the internet, Miss Mindykins. Oh,
something
you can find
here.
You can find me here, starting this Sunday with Art with Heart, where I'm going to be, at least initially, finger painting TTRPG characters. There will be opportunities for you to maybe be like, hey, maybe you want to like finger paint like my character, and then you'll see how I paint and you'll be like, never mind, I take it back. But it'll be a fun time regardless,
It always is. Whether it's finger painting or sculpting Humpadump, I think it's pretty much going to be a great time.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that is this weekend.
Starts. Yeah, this starts this Sunday at 7 Central, and we'll start with finger painting 2 of my characters, and like I said, there will be opportunities for essentially giveaways of original art. It may not be good art, but I promise it will have lots of heart when I do it.
I love it. Josh.
There's all kinds of other stuff happening, but like we can't talk about that.
You gotta be there. You gotta be there.
It's okay. You can talk about it.
Mindy's
it's all right.
got a lot going on.
No, it's just stay tuned.
How about Mindy spill the beans instead of just Deej? Okay. Why doesn't that happen?
Okay. It's not.
I do it on accident. Mindy gets to do it on purpose all the time. So that's the difference.
That's because it's not spilling the beans. It's intentional and mapped out in a way that is specifically designed to. It's fine.
Hashtag Mindy loves beans.
It's the only reason. Yeah.
That's damn called out in the middle of stream. Wow.
Otherwise, you would spill all the beans, I'm sure. Josh,
keep them in the can.
Josh, tell us, what are you doing, my friend, besides everything?
The next week is actually very busy for me. So tomorrow you can find me over on Athena Bean's channel. She's doing a 4-year streamiversary, and I have agreed to read smut written by Chuck Tingle as a bedtime story.
Yes.
Something
Perfect
about scary stories to pound your butt or something like that. I don't actually know the title of the book, but I'm gonna read it.
That seemed exactly.
Best of luck to Athena after getting demonetized. That would be. We all wish her well.
So I'm doing that tomorrow. On Friday, I am running a charity game with our friends over at Paradise Prod in support of Jasper's Game Day, like 3 p.m., 3:30 Eastern time. I put that on Twitter. Go check that out. Also on Friday, an episode of a podcast that I was on called Roleplay Grow is releasing. I talk a lot about my character creation process. So if you're interested in how I built characters potentially for Stay Alive, I use mostly D&D examples in that podcast, but a lot of talk about how I think about building characters. And then next week, on Friday, I am doing a charity stream in support of Take This over on the Total Party Chill channel at something like 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central. It's a later stream. I don't know the exact time. Promotional graphics, I think, will be coming out for that, or announcements will be coming out for that in the near future. And then I haven't streamed on my own channel in a while because I'm moving, but at the start of September, I'll be back on my channel. Stay tuned.
Make sure those I see the amazing Cage putting the links up there for as many things as we can try and stalk Josh on the interwebs as much as possible. Don't do it in person. I always remind you, don't do that in person. It's not a good idea.
Thank you.
But thank you, Josh. We look forward to hearing all the fun things that you're doing, seeing all that happen. Tony, what are you doing?
Oh man,
what are you doing?
I've got a bunch of things going on IRL. This weekend, if anybody's around the Gettysburg area, I will be a guest speaker at Key City Steampunk, doing some steampunk talks there. I'm doing some talks with some tea and some men's fashion. Then at the end of the month, I'll be at Burning Man. So if anybody else is going to be at
Shut
Burning Man with the
up.
other couple thousand people there, feel free to find me. Come by Tom's Tiki pirate ship camp. I'll be there helping out for a little while, as well as just wandering around. And then once all of that IRL stuff has calmed down, eventually I plan to start streaming some Heavy Rain on my own channel.
Ooh.
So that will be happening at some point.
That's an intense one.
It's a good
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, holy
That
moly.
whole string of things was so uniquely Tony, though. Like that
Yep.
was just the
Right?
most
Like, from start
Tony
to finish.
collection of items. I'll be
Tony.
talking about men's fashion and teas. I'll also be at Burning Man.
I was
then I'll
like,
be streaming.
that was it. That line is Tony.
Yes,
Yeah,
Tony in a
that's-
nutshell.
That's the best representation you could have given
It's
yourself.
beautiful.
Absolutely
love
on
it.
brand.
Well, I wish you safe travels and good luck out there. Stay hydrated, lest you be Burning Man.
Hydrate or
Something,
dehydrate.
something. Exactly. It made sense to me, Mindy.
It
made
was
sense
good. I
to my
liked it. I
end.
just wasn't sure where you were going, and then you got there, and I was like, okay, all right, Jamie, I see you.
Sometimes I win.
It was so good. No, it was good. I liked it. I just wasn't sure where it was going at first, and I was concerned.
I'm always concerned. I don't have one of those inner monologues. We won't even go there. But some people have inner monologues. I do not.
It's just
So-
outside.
Yeah, mine just
Yeah.
comes out of my face. Deej, Deegerino, what are you doing? What are you
What isn't he
deejing
doing?
nowadays?
Yeah. So I stay busy. Okay. For those folks who are into the 5e stuff, please check out the Patreon so I can eat. I'm here on the Free Forge every Monday. I don't want to say with like certitude because I never want to end up disappointing anybody, but I think we are all going to be taking a much needed and much deserved Wednesday off next week, and then I might be throwing myself right back to work, picking up solo streams here on Monday as well as or Wednesday as well as Monday. Determinations to be made for sure, but I'm here every Monday. I will be doing some definitively sort of live producing for Honor Roll, which starts this Friday. So do make sure you are catching that. That's going to be at 7:30 CST as well. And then I think one of the last sort of parting shots that we have for this evening, all details to be unveiled in time, but I'm hard at work collaborating with folks for that. So that's I don't want to say too much because then Mindy will be like, "Ditch," and then I'll be like, "I'm sorry," and then she'll be like, "But you always do it,
He
and
just-
nothing ever changes.
he
Change
just-
the behavior." And then I
He just
don't,
gets so
and-
excited about all the things that are happening because there's a lot of cool stuff happening. There is.
Yes.
I have trouble learning how to not do that. So that's my challenge overall. But other than that, I'm in the Free Forge. I'm going to be doing more and more appearances on the platform itself as things continue to evolve, develop, and grow from there. So do make sure you are followed, subbed, hook it up, spend some time, come hang out. I get way looser when I do my solo streams. So if you're like, this stage person seems pretty cool, like you can go into Mondays with that mindset, but like have that be a flexible thing. That's all I'm saying.
Well, some of us saw you play that train problem game.
Super
was
great.
80%
It was so
chat.
much fun.
80% chat's fault. 80% chat's fault. 15%
It
mine.
seems also
5%
on
in the
brand.
ether. We can't blame anybody for that.
That's
Okay?
fair. That's fair.
5% fate. That's all.
Well, we look forward to seeing you on Mondays for sure. Perhaps Wednesdays, definitely in the Discord, the Free Forge Discord. Please make sure that you are a part of that because that community is just like, you just go in there. I am not active all the time, but I see what's happening because I'm a bundle of nerves sometimes. So I like to watch what's happening in there because it's like a big hug. Like every time you go in there, it's a wonderful community. So please jump in there, check out all the channels. In particular, the honor roll one because that show is coming up on Friday. But ... there might be something special that we may or may not be able to share with you today.
Speptual, I believe. is
Speptual.
pronounced.
So
Yes.
Dij, I don't know if you want to
Correct.
go ahead
Letters
and
did you
intro
add?
that because it's my last thing to do. Tell us about this
Mindy has
thing.
worked long and hard to make things cool and awesome. I will defer to her
Oh,
on this one.
Mindy. Tell us. Mindy
Oh.
with the good hair. Tell
Oh
us.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Thanks. So we did announce a while ago, I think at the trail end of our last charity event, when we were doing our giveaway and celebratory ceremony shenanigans, that we did formally announce that we had 2 productions on the way, one of which is premiering this Friday. The other, we've only had little bits and pieces, aka a title and a GM, which is going to be the fantastic L Street Gaming. But tonight, we have maybe a little bit more to share.
Maybe, if you're into that sort of thing.
Maybe, you know.
There are so many eyeballs. I feel like it's
Hilt over in Zaw and stand on the brink of war. Now, I stand here with nameless champions that will go on to shape the future between them. Yes, dear champion, now is your time. Now you must fight. Now you must rise and become a legend.
oh.
So, stay tuned. That's coming in September, as you could see by the date. So make sure, again, if you're not already following the Free Forge, that you're maybe doing that so you can keep up on, because we'll have some cast reveals and character reveals and the whole shebang. So if you're not following the Free Forge on Twitter, make sure you are changing that, because as exciting as that is, and it is super exciting,
Right.
we've got other things coming down the pipe too. It's just
Oh,
all the
all the
awesome.
stuff.
Gosh.
I ain't even ruined this
Everything.
one.
I can't. I am
So
so
proud.
excited.
Came so
It's
close though.
beautiful. If you,
Couple times.
especially
Couple
the
times.
Twitter, those little Twitter tweets, those tweets out in the world, I cannot wait. I cannot freaking wait. Well, to those of you out there surviving, stay safe, stay alive, stay alive.